Hey everybody, welcome back to I Know a Guy. If you're new here, my name is Anthony. I'm a business profit advocate. On this show, we interview entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals, and just people doing cool things. For example, today we're meeting Barry LaBov. He is an award-winning entrepreneur, author, and founder of LaBov Marketing, Communications, and Training. With decades of experience partnering with iconic brands like Harley-Davidson and Audi, Barry specializes in helping companies stand out through differentiation, strategic storytelling, and creating meaningful connections that drive success. How are you doing today, Barry?
I am great, Anthony. I think this will be a lot of fun, and let's go for it.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to talk with you. You're super, a wealth of knowledge and all this stuff, and I think a lot of people need to hear everything you have to say. But starting off, where are you calling in from? Where are you located?
I am located in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is a great city. I also work 3 or 4 months of the year out of Scottsdale, Arizona during the colder weather, so it's nice there. And Fort Wayne's a little cold at that point, but I'm out of Indiana, love it. My company also has a brand new office in Dallas, Texas.
Awesome, awesome. So somebody that's never been to Indiana, I've been, just barely into it. Where do you take people when they come to visit? What's the first thing you recommend people do?
Well, Indiana is very beautiful. It's very green during the summer and spring. There are many, many restaurants. If you go to Indianapolis, you have most of the professional sports teams are great there. In Fort Wayne, we don't have the high-end professional sports teams because we're a smaller city of, maybe 300,000 people. But what we do, we visit the countryside, we look at the beauty, we play golf, you can fish. It's a great place. It is definitely a family place, and it's incredibly reasonable as far as cost of living.
Yeah, I've always liked Indiana. Every time I visited, I lived just a couple states over in Iowa, so very similar. But every time we went over, there was like basketball camps. We went to was it Terre
Oh yeah.
Haute and things like that. So super great place to visit, and I imagine live. So
Hmm. Yeah.
awesome, awesome. Well, what can you tell us about what you do?
My company focuses on one word: differentiation. We differentiate brands for our clients. So we have clients that come to us and they go, look, we need marketing, we need training. But our biggest problem is we think we're leaving a lot on the table. We think we're doing something good, but we're not doing that great in our market share. We're not really charging what we really ought to charge. Can you help us? And then what we do, Anthony, is we have a process, which is a differentiator for our company. And we go through 5 steps with them. And one thing we do is we talk with their customers, we talk with their employees, we listen to what they say about this brand, and we learn what should not be changed about the brand. So that's one thing I'd like to share with everybody in the audience. Don't look at what you need to change until you understand what you should never change. Hold on to that. Once we do that, we go into their facility, if indeed they have a facility, sometimes it's virtual, and we look from a technical aspect at the things they do. So it could be processes, technology, features, metallurgy, equipment, whatever it is. We look for what makes them unique so that we can consider naming those things and giving them an identity. And then after we agree with everything that we think is unique, we have a meeting, a jam session, just like in music, a jam session with the client to confirm. And then we start creating those different executions. But here's where it gets really exciting. Before it's launched to the world, we launch it to the most important people first, the employees, the people behind that brand, to celebrate it so that all of them feel like, you know what, I'm doing something of value. I actually work at a place that cares. I actually am doing something that has meaning. That's how we do it.
Awesome. What got you started? Like, how did that look? How long have you been doing it? What was the kind of the lead into it?
I've been doing this for 40 plus years. It really started when I was in a rock band, and it occurred to me that the best way to have a great song and a great performance is to focus on the strengths of the individual people in the band, as opposed to looking at what do they not do very well. So if you have a guitarist and he doesn't really have great rhythm, but he's really fast and does some amazing things, don't have him be the rhythm player. Give the guy a chance to solo, things like that. So it started there. I started to adapt that into business. I also coached kids for maybe a decade or so, and I looked at it the same way. I was not the coach yelling at the kids and telling them how they're doing something wrong. I was the coach that identified the strengths in each individual child and had them work on those things. That's how it started, and it's blossomed into a business.
I really like that, starting off from a rock band coaching to working with brands like Harley-Davidson and Audi. So that's kind of an interesting journey. What key principles do you believe that companies like that have that smaller businesses can learn from?
The top companies out there are doing things that all of us with small companies should do. And that's the following. Number one, they understand what they are about. They understand what they should not change. Harley knows they should not change the look or the sound of their motorcycles or that experience you get as one of their owners. They know that. They're never going to change it. So one thing, don't change the things that you do that are really great. Another thing that we can learn from them is connect with the end user. Macallan Scotch, one of our clients, they not only produce the best scotch in the world, but they conduct wine tastings, scotch tastings. They conduct tastings worldwide so that they can connect with their customers and they can enjoy the product with them. So really being very, very much engaged and involved with your customers is very important. Final thing is looking at your community, your people, and making sure that you are serving them as a brand. You can have a great product and you can have some customers that love what you do, but if you're really not a good citizen, if you're not a good human to work with or for, it's going to backfire on you. So those are the three.
Okay. So in your book, the Power of Differentiation, you emphasize winning hearts and minds. Can you share a specific example how differentiation transformed a brand success?
There are so many in the book that it's hard to even begin, but I'll share one story about a copper rod producer. So that sounds very unexciting, right? I mean, who cares, right? Copper rod turns into copper wire. Nobody cares about that, right? Well, it's actually incredibly important. But the leader of that company said, you know what? We really don't have a name for the company. We need a name, number one. Number two, we need to celebrate what we do with our employees because our employees are the only thing keeping us from being a commodity because we're selling rod. Rod looks like rod, but our employees who are involved with how they deliver the product and how the quality is so high, they are the stars. So what that person did was he created an environment where we celebrated before we launched the event, and we did it virtually because it was during the pandemic. Over 100 employees got a special package sent to their house. They were told, go to the Zoom meeting at this time. They opened up the package. They found craft beer with the name of the company. They found hats, carabiners, all these cool little gadgets, and they celebrated worldwide with the 100 people, most of them in America, but some of them in Europe, all about what this brand is about. So there's an example. And by the way, what happened, and I just talked with the client a few weeks ago, they went from being the lowest priced product in the market to now they are the premium product. They are the highest price in the market. And here's their problem. Their problem is they cannot keep up with demand. So they have to look at how do they hire more people. That's a success story.
Yeah, those are the stories you love to hear. That's a good problem to have when you're in business. So that's awesome. So you've interviewed a lot of industry leaders, best-selling authors, and celebrated figures. So from my experience doing this, there's a lot of common threads that tend to crop up. So in Difference Talks, what are some of the common threads that you've learned through those conversations?
Yeah, Difference Talks for everybody is the podcast that my company puts on. So I really urge you to go listen to it. It's on all the major platforms. We've interviewed best-selling authors, Grammy Award winners, CEOs, famous musicians, things like that. And what is a big thread for them is a question we always ask at the end, and that is, well, what is a best day for you? What's your best day? When you feel so great and you're energized. And Anthony, here's what is the amazing thread. It's all about people. So these amazing people, whether they're authors or CEOs or successful musicians, it all comes down to them helping others improve, helping others have a better personal life, helping others realize what they do is significant, seeing people rise up, not to be leaders, let's say, but rise up to feel great about themselves. So it's all about people. You know, you can have a great product or service, and if your people really don't care, you're in trouble. And this is what I've learned from every guest. It's all about inspiring people to live a meaningful personal and professional life.
I really like that. Yeah, you do notice those threads, and they all tend to kind of revolve around the same thing, and it's really cool that we've had parallel, threads like that where we notice. What's your favorite thing about what you're doing? You've been doing it for 40 years. You've done a lot. What's like the pinnacle? What's your favorite bit?
I love to do something that has not been done before. All right. I love that. So if you ask me to do something that anybody can do, and I've done it a few hundred times, I'm going to go, okay. If you go, hey, I don't know how we're going to get this. I don't know how this is going to happen, but we really need help on this. That's what I love. So right now I'm working with a AAA baseball team that is tackling a big cultural problem in their market. And it's the most exciting thing in the world to me because we're making progress. We're dealing with things that, nobody else was willing to deal with for some reason. And we're making progress. We're listening to people. We're learning. So I love to tackle something that others go, I don't want to deal with it, or I'm afraid to deal with it, or we've never dealt with it. Give me something that's tough and let me do something that has never been done before.
Awesome. Yeah, I like that. So for new entrepreneurs out there that are just looking at this space and, seeing you've had over 40 years of experience, what advice would you give them starting off, or what advice would you give yourself if you had to start over today?
It's the same advice. So I would say to any new entrepreneur, because I was there, I did not mean to be one. I accidentally stepped into it and I love it. Make sure that you do not compromise on what you do. Don't get caught up in the allure of 10x, 100x growth at the expense of doing a great job. Make sure if you're going to lose, if you're going to be hungry at night, that you can say, you know what? I am hungry. I had a lousy day today, but I really did my very best for that client. So look at each client one at a time as a unique individual, as opposed to 10, 20, 1000x growth as your goal.
Yeah, that's really great advice because everybody's different. When you are looking at your clients, what's kind of the pain points that you notice that if they're dealing with XYZ, you're the person that can help them?
The pain points our clients have are very, very common, which are there's a lot of pressure on the leader to perform. And that leader probably has more pressure today and less people supporting him or her to get those goals accomplished. So we have to be an extension of his or her company. We're not just somebody they hire and pay by the hour. We are a partner. We're an extension. They need that because they're not just facing sales or profit problems. They're facing retention problems. They're facing employees who don't really care about doing a great job, and we can help them with all of that.
Okay. How about, like collaborations? We're big on collaboration. Obviously, the I know a guy thing is built around it. What do power partners look like for you? People that are in different industries that you guys might be able to help clients in different ways.
We work with our clients' current agencies and firms. We work with other firms that are not related to our client, but we feel they do a better job in their area than we could provide a client. And we have actually bought portions of some of those firms. So we love collaboration. We are highly collaborative. One of our core values is jamming, like in a rock band. You jamming. So I'm a firm believer that you don't know where your next great idea is going to come from. So check your ego at the door. Don't think it's got to come from you, and reach out, listen, and learn from others.
Yeah, that's fantastic advice. What's your top advice for a business looking to stand out in a competitive market?
Stand out. I shared a little bit earlier. Look at what you do today that is a little unique, even if it's not superior. Don't worry about superiority. Don't say, well, I do this and that, but I'm not as big as these other guys. No, I didn't say that. I said, look at what you do that just might be a little different. Look at what you're paying a little more time or money to do. One quick example, I work with a family bakery, and they told me we do nothing different. We're like everybody else. I said, okay, you're 100 years old. You got to be doing something. And I said, what are you paying for that you don't have to pay that extra amount of money for? And quickly their financial guy goes, well, I can tell you what it is. We have a certain grain that we put in our whole wheat bread so it tastes better. And he said, we pay a lot of money for that. I said, okay, do you advertise that? And they said, heck no, we don't. I said, do you promote it? Well, heck no, we don't. I said, okay, that's an example. You're spending the time and the money. Why don't you name that grain, and why don't you celebrate it with your people and say, hey, by the way, the owners of this company would make a lot more money, but we're buying this special grain from the Northwest United States so that it tastes better for our customers. Why not? You're doing it. That's my advice. You're doing a few things, maybe not 1,000. I hope you're not doing 1,000 things unique. You'd be dead by now because you couldn't handle it. You're doing a couple things that are really good. Don't change them, but also don't be golly gee shucks, I shouldn't brag about. It's not bragging if you're doing something that is legitimately different. Brag about it. If you want to call it brag, let people know about it for sure. Name it. Share the story.
Yeah, that's super important advice. I mean, look at any industry. You're on a menu of options. What's going to make you? Why would somebody pick you? Are you a little spicier? Do you have this flair? It's not bragging, like you said. It's differentiating yourself from competition, and that's important. So, can you share a memorable success story from when you've worked on brand differentiation?
Many stories that are in the book will cover this. One of my favorite clients is a rail car company, and they're in Chicago, and they're wonderful. They're called Freight Car America. And when we were asked to join them, their great leader said to me, I want you to meet my guys. And when I talked to the guys there, the top leaders, they were all men, so I'm not being chauvinist here. None of them had a great feeling about the company. None of them showed pride. And I said, it sounds to me like not one of you would buy your own product. And the leader said, that's an interesting question. And I said, as we work together, we need to change that, because you as leaders have to believe what you're doing has some value, because your employees will pick up on that. They either are going to go, yeah, or they're going to go, yeah, nothing matters, right? And what happened was, not that long after that, they had a very big bid that they were trying to win. And I was asked to get involved in it with them just from the outside. I didn't do anything great, but they were sharing the fact that they were doing a lot of extra work for this client. They were doing a lot of different things, but they didn't want to mention it. They didn't really want to stand up for themselves. And we all decided, you know what, in a nice way, can you please stand up for yourself with that client and share what you are doing? Because I bet she does not really know, therefore appreciate it. And that's what they did. And to their credit, they stood up, they made their case, and they won the largest bid in the 120-year history of that company. So that's one example.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's come up a couple times in recent interviews that I've done is, connecting emotionally with your customers because a lot of people look at the next big bid or the next client to bring on. And that's important and it's something that you should focus on. But how do you approach helping businesses create emotional connections with their current customers?
Well, if you just said the word personal, and it's got to be a personal connection. With all the talk about technology and AI, isn't it more important now to make sure you're connecting as a human being with your customer? So that's one thing. The other thing is, even though many people are using technology and AI, I think too often they give up the ownership of that product to AI or the technology. So even if you're using it, stop, look at it, and go, okay, is this what my customer would say? Is this really them? Insert your humanity into every single thing you do, because if you don't, you can easily be replaced.
Yep. Nope, that's an important bit. The know, like, trust part of it. If they don't know who you are, how are they going to like and trust you? So you got to be authentic. So is there anything that I missed or failed to ask that you wanted to add?
I think you've done a great job on this. I think what's really important is, as small business owners, let's go a little easier on ourselves and realize we cannot land 10 million customers today before we go back to sleep. Let's look at each one at a time. Let's make sure that we are doing work we are proud of, work that makes us feel like what we do has some meaning. That's my suggestion.
Again, that's fantastic advice, along with all the other fantastic advice that you've given. If somebody wants to ask specific questions or go into detail on any of it, how can they get a hold of you? Where can they find you?
Reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm right there, as well as go to my website, barrylabov.com. I'm happy to help.
Perfect. If anybody would like to get a hold of Barry, absolutely do it. You're going to walk away knowing a lot more than you do now. He's been doing it for 40 years. He's getting pretty good at it. So have that conversation. Do yourself a favor. I'll put all of those links in the description so we don't have to hunt for them. And I'm going to copy and paste it from him. So if it's misspelled, it's his fault, not mine. But if anybody out there's a little bit more shy and prefers an introduction, just ask me. I'm more than happy to make three-way introductions for everybody. If anybody out there would like to be interviewed, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'll have my link tree in the description below as well. So feel free to grab a time. Let's have a chat. But otherwise, Barry, I really appreciate you coming on, sharing all of that with us. Those are some great stories. I'm going to go back through and probably take some notes because there's some stuff in there that I need to probably start implementing better in my business. So I really appreciate you coming in and talking to us about it. Let's all go put it to use, get out there and meet some more people. All right.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Let's have a great one.
Yep. Let's do that.